Welcome, everyone, to a new episode of the Knife Nuts podcast. We've got a lot to cover. As you can see, Jake is not here.
Jake is on an unofficial hiatus.
He was invited in the same group text as everybody else, but did not respond.
Porsche.
I don't even know. I don't even know if it has anything to do with Porsche. I think now it's Call of Duty. Now it's a family thing where Katie is really good at Call of Duty, and he watches her play Call of Duty.
What? Okay, good for Jake. You know, I'm not sure how many, cutting insights he'll have about our topics today anyway. So
that's right. No, we unofficially replaced him with NCC Knives. So
yeah, with Nick Dufresne.
Yes.
I'm going to get out.
Okay.
Well, let's just hope Brian's okay. That maybe was not good, but
a dramatic start to this podcast. We got some stuff to go over. We were both at the New York Custom Knife Show, which is in New Jersey. Currently, the one in Austin is going on. I think that's
Blade
this
Show
weekend.
Texas.
Texas is going on now. Can't make it to that one, but you know.
I mean, at this point, Brian's back. Can't make it to most shows because there's like 3 a month. So, and we can talk about that.
That's exactly the transition I was looking at, because there's a knife show every week now, it seems.
Yeah, Brian, you're not at Blade Show Texas, it seems, either.
No.
I've never been to Texas. That could be Texas for all I know.
I didn't go this year. I wanted to. I just Thankfully, I didn't, because I wouldn't have had anything to bring, so it would be kind of a waste.
Well, how are you supposed to have stuff to bring?
By the way, is my mic better?
Yeah, a little quiet, but nothing we can't fix in post. I mean, how are you supposed to have stuff to bring when there's shows every couple of weeks now?
Yeah, but I don't go to 90% of those. I don't go to anything. I don't go to any of them, really. I go to Blade Show, and every other year it seems I go to USN. I still have never been to USN one year,
and I would like to go one year.
I haven't been last year, but I think there was a lot of disgruntled people and people leaving or something.
Yeah, we talked about that.
I don't know. They normally put on a really good show. It's a good group of makers that they normally have there. They normally have all the top tier makers. It's not too big, not too small. It the fact that it's in Vegas is nice. You get to do a lot of partying and stuff in between.
The hard part for me is traveling to Vegas.
Well, that's the deal. I don't want to go anywhere because I'm tired of I can't be on a plane for 4 hours. I can't do it. My knees jammed into the chair in front of me.
Especially if you're going for like a weekend or something. It's like so.
This is music to my ears.
Yeah.
You know.
Well,
I also
what my wife always did to me too is coming back to Newark. It's always like this 5 o'clock plane flight, 5 o'clock in the morning. And it's like rough doing that one. It's rough doing that one.
Absolutely not.
Every time I've been on that plane coming home, I'm hungover from the night, or still drunk from the night before. It's
when I was working for Apple, that's whenever I'd have to go to Cupertino headquarters in California. The flights they would put you on were always like the lowest tier that they could get. And
hey man, Apple's scrounging for money.
Oh, I understand they got to save their bucks, but I remember getting on a red-eye flight with like 3 connections.
That's the worst.
It was so brutal. There was one like it went from like San Francisco, I think.
Yeah.
And then to Denver, and I was there in Denver for several hours, and then to Atlanta, and then to me.
At least it's kind of on the same way. Nothing's worse than when you're trying to you're flying to Florida, and I got to go to Ohio.
It didn't matter because
Montana
it wasn't
first, yeah?
It didn't make a difference because I would sit in each of these places for hours for my connecting flight.
Yeah, that's the worst.
So if I was going around the world, it wouldn't have mattered. I was still stuck.
Yeah, I'd rather be stuck in an airport than on a plane. That's for sure.
That's fair.
Back to the USN thing, I think some of the weirdness around that maybe has something to do with the website was gone for a while. It's been a long time since I cared about forums or night forums. And at one point, the USN website I saw on Blade forums or Reddit or something recently being like, what happened to USN? And it was just gone.
I question how much the USN website actually has to do with the attendance of the USN show at this point.
Yeah, I mean, you don't need to be a member of the website to go to the show, and the show attracts a bunch of top-tier makers, so yeah.
Yeah, but everybody there is walking around with their USN name tag.
That's
and
true.
Shit, you know, so.
Lots of skull rings and belt buckles.
Ooh, Starling Gear
Everybody's
cleans
got their
Yeah.
thing.
They clean up at that show. They were noticeably absent from the New York show. I believe they were there in the years past, but
Yeah, they were.
there was a lot of absences.
Yeah, that show was smaller
Used
this
to
year
be
for
there,
sure.
but it was still pretty packed show. They made it feel really packed.
Well, that's because they shrunk the room on us, like the compactor scene from the original Star Wars. That's
Maybe
what they did.
They shrunk the whole show, so we got there on Friday, and it used to be a 2-day show, and I guess something negotiations wise didn't work with the hotel, the Westin, and so it became a 1-day show, only Saturday, which was fine by me actually.
That's all you need, really. It's just as long as it's Saturday, that's all you need.
Yeah. So Friday night was a reception that Levon and I maybe crashed. It didn't really seem like anyone would care.
We didn't crash it
for exhibitors, and that was pretty cool because we got to talk to Chuck Adretis.
Oh yeah, Chuck Adretis and his exploits. Very funny.
But yeah,
that was my favorite part of the show. Was that evening?
Was Friday night? Yeah. So that was.
Well, you
that was
fucking
cool.
left. I mean, the day of the show pretty damn quick. I get there and you guys are. Dave's gone 10 minutes after I'm there, and you're gone 20 minutes after I was there.
There is
I
only
stayed
so
at
much
least
time
an
you
hour
can
and a
spend
half,
there.
2 hours after you left. I had seen
thanks.
everything. It was done. And
I came there to fucking hang with you. I wouldn't have even went to that goddamn show.
Levin's fragile. He was tired.
I thought you would get there, at a reasonable hour. You didn't show up until like 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
Well, because I didn't have early bird $90 tickets.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, well, you told me at 10 minutes before I had to be there.
No, I
you
didn't.
You told me at 10
you.
o'clock, and it took. Yeah, I'll fucking show you right now. You told me at 10 o'clock.
I told you that's where it was.
If I left right at that moment,
but
I can get there at 11.
Before the show started, I told you that there were tickets.
I don't know. I'm with Brian
No,
on this one.
I'll show you.
I didn't know we had exhibitor
exactly
passes.
right here, motherfucker.
They weren't. They were just some VIP passes. No big deal.
Right, but I couldn't get in until 11, and you told me at 10 that I got a ticket to get me in early. Well, how good? It took me an hour to get there, so it was 11 anyway.
Okay.
I'm with Brian on this one.
It's all over.
I didn't know we had passes, but apparently we did. Apparently we were guests of PVK.
Yes.
Or something to that effect.
That's correct.
But I don't know with the show.
Shout
it was
out
like
to PVK. Thank you.
There's there was essentially two things. There was either the people who sold out of everything within the first 10 minutes, and then people who didn't sell a single thing the entire day.
That's
I left at like 1 p.m.
That's
but
always how it is, but there was some really nice stuff still like around. Like I wish I came like flush with cash because there was a lot of stuff I would have bought.
The only stuff that was moving fast, in my opinion, was the production knives. The absolute busiest tables were like ProTech and Vero Engineering. So,
and
Chuck stuff was all gone within 2 minutes.
Chuck. I didn't even see like half of his stuff. I'm glad we handled some of them that night because they were gone.
Yeah, so he went with 8 of his Swiss Army flippers that are
Switch Army knives.
Switch Army knives, yes. They're switchblades that look like Swiss Army knives. He had 8 of those, and within like, I don't know, we went in at 10. They were already not, all of them were gone, but the open bid.
Does he make them from scratch, or does he take Swiss Army knives
completely
and then
handmade?
Completely from scratch.
So
I haven't seen one yet.
The only things that he doesn't make are the OEM Swiss Army toothpicks and tweezers that he actually fits into the thing, which I think is cool.
These are amazing. I mean, he walked out with a cool, minimum $8,000.
It's just a mid-tech then. If somebody else is making some of the parts,
it's a mid-tech.
He doesn't make the tweezers, so it's not valid. Yeah, I mean, he was there for 10 minutes. All of them were gone. He didn't have to do anything else for the rest of the day. No wonder why they were getting sushi at Nobu.
Seriously.
Yeah, but that kind of, it's while it's good, it also sucks. You know, it's sucks to stand by a table, especially if you have nothing on the table. You kind of want to keep something just for people to see. But at the same time, but people say, "Oh, you can keep my knife here," and then what happens is some moron with a big fucking skull ring scratches it up, and then you're repairing it. You know, it's like, fuck.
I believe that's a true story that has happened.
That sounds very plausible.
More than
at
once.
that show specifically too.
Yeah, he just had that one open bid knife for the rest of the day, and everything else was gone.
The skiffs were there.
That was a travesty.
There were so many cool knives. They were all gone by the time.
Oh, were they?
I'm sure.
When I left at like 1 p.m., there wasn't a single one sold. Steve Skiff.
Oh no, they definitely a bunch were sold already. They just brought a lot.
I think they make a decent amount of knives.
Yeah, he had at least 20 knives on the table. I mean, they were all amazing.
They're perfect. They're perfect.
And they
I'm
were
very
under
much looking
$1,000
forward to the new model, the Fugitive. They just showed. I was hoping they would have had one at the show, but it wasn't ready yet. But they did just post some video of it on their Instagram.
Yeah.
It's very, very
yes.
cool.
I'm looking at this. What was I say? The table prices were like $8.95 for the ones without time
They haven't gone up. They haven't gone up at all.
Yeah, they are really, really good.
That would have been the first
price.
purchase. Was a drifter, because I don't have one of those either.
Yeah, and they were just sitting there. I mean, for a little bit at least. I mean, maybe they were gone by the end of the show. It wasn't like people were snatching them up.
Yeah, but there were a lot of dealers there too,
Yeah.
so dealers scooped up the rest.
Yeah, Jeremiah at PVK has at least 2 of them.
Yeah,
I saw on his website,
and he had more than that at one point, so they're selling.
Yeah, but I just was shocked that people were like rushing in to buy Protex.
People don't know. They don't know. And Notorious EDC, he had his booth in the corner. He has that nice looking. I think it's a Reate made slip joint. It looks pretty cool. And I know a lot of people had their eyes on one of those. I think it's Reate made. I believe it is.
Let's see if I recognize that one.
It's probably not Reate because he actually had them to sell.
Okay, we gotta go through these things, the topics in order. Right. We're jumping around. I don't remember seeing these, but what else? Do you think you're sharing the screen right now or no? I am not sharing the screen. Cats are going nuts in the background. But yeah, no, why don't we go back to Friday night? Yeah, so we hung out and we got free food, which was nice. We met a guy
the Costco hors d'oeuvres.
Yeah, hey, they're pretty decent. We met a guy, this is who is an investment banker from Manhattan, who it's really interesting to see when people like first get into knives, they usually buy cheap stuff. But he had a lot of money, so he was buying expensive things, and he was throwing money at some terrible knives. I feel bad for that man. I hope we schooled him a little bit.
Yeah,
but he was
very nice. Very nice.
He seemed very interested in learning, but he was dropping like $1,800, $2,000 on customized Medfords.
Yeah.
Made an offer for $5,000 on a mixed Strider custom.
Yeah. It's I mean, it's easy for us who have been in it for a long time to see that. But you got to think back to like when you first got into it, and if you had the ability, what would you have done?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I would have bought even dumber shit if I had unlimited money.
The other and like you said, he was very open to listening and learning, and he was like, respectful about, like, he wasn't trying to say these are the best knives in the world. It's just what he knew.
Yeah, which is funny to see, because I don't even imagine. I can imagine I would have probably the world's biggest collection of Darryl Ralph knives if someone let me out. If someone gave me unlimited money when I had only been collecting.
Oh, this
for a
one
couple
just
months.
flops closed on its own. No big deal. I've got like 6 more.
Yeah. That is what I would have done with that money.
Right. Yeah. That was an interesting perspective for me to see. I don't know. I know he's dead, isn't he?
Darryl Ralph died. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Right. Did he?
His shop is around.
I guess he's not around then.
He's not around. Well, perpetually around, depending on what your belief system is.
Yes. The other thing that really struck me on Friday night is how when I talk to the people, like how much shit I like. I think we're relatively informed about the knife world because, I don't know, we've made connections to the podcast, but goddamn, there's so much stuff I don't know. There's so much inside baseball that you learn when talking to them, and it always amazes me. Yeah. Like, just the average knife enthusiast has so little knowledge of what is actually going on in the knife industry because it's so opaque since it's all privately owned companies and whatnot. But goddamn, I mean, like things.
I think the other way. I think you all have too much knowledge about everything.
Well, that's because the people are too easily accessible.
It goes both ways because I think, Brian, you have a point in that this is a very transparent business. Like, everybody knows everything. Everybody knows where everything is made.
But what other business, like...
None. Very, very, very few things. Very, very few things.
It's crazy what people know.
But I feel like people have enough knowledge to be dangerous, but they don't really know what's going on. Like, right. I heard some rumor that, random enthusiasts wouldn't have known that because the rumor was the exact opposite. So people do know just enough to be dangerous. It's a weird industry. It's like,
and it's true, and it's why we try to be as careful as possible with what we try to divulge through here, because there is a lot of stuff going on. And
careful, what are you talking about? You just say allegedly in front of everything. You're not fucking careful at all.
No,
well, allegedly cancels it out.
No, I think even the stuff that we talk about allegedly is still pretty tame compared to what else goes on out there.
And it's everybody knows everyone because it's a relatively small industry. It's like, they're all private companies, no publicly traded companies. It's like,
right.
It is when you find out how the sausage is made from people actually in the knife world, it is fascinating to me.
And there's a lot of sausage too, isn't it?
There is.
The thing is that I think even though there's a lot of transparency, people forget that it's real people on the other end of these businesses, and it's not like there are too many people aren't necessarily getting super rich. Not everybody is getting super rich off of this stuff. You work very hard to do these things and get people quality products. Because that's the other thing that's unique about this hobby is that I think the people that they want to sell the best quality product they can. And I think that that's something that gets lost in a lot. I mean, there's always some bad actors, that. But at the same time, the majority of people try to better their products. They listen to their customers, and they try to put stuff out there that people will enjoy. And I think people take that for granted.
Boo! I was gonna say they're definitely getting rich. I mean, again, Nobu. I'm just kidding. I was just very surprised. I'm like, oh yeah, we're going to get dinner at Nobu, and I was like, I've only heard of that in a Kanye West song.
Remember that, like, even if they are going to go out and treat themselves to a fancy dinner every once in a while, it doesn't necessarily mean they're rolling in cash.
Yeah, especially since most of them are like hermits, living in their knife caves.
They don't see the light of day. Look at where Brian is doing this podcast right now.
Yeah, he's at Blade Show, Texas.
He's in Texas. Texas is just all mills. That's all it is.
I just didn't want to do it in my room because I have some advantages of doing it in my garage that I can't upstairs.
I understand.
You can flex on the people who can't make their own knives and are subject to the whims of Reate right now.
I'm subject to the whims of U.S. Customs. I have 6 packages with 30 knives that I've been waiting for well over a month now. They've been sitting there.
Is there even any confirmation that they are actually with U.S. Customs? Because without the tracking,
all I have is the USPS one, but the Chinese tracking that they have shows that they've made it into the country and they're just sitting it. It's not unheard of. This has happened before.
Yeah, but I know, but it's weird why they're holding it up that long. I
don't know.
I have one held up. I have one. So Riate's last batch that they shipped me was 4 boxes. Mm-hmm. 3 of them showed up. One of them has been in Alaska for the past 5 days.
Right. So I don't know what's going on. That's generally, you know, there's no way to hurry it. You contact customs. It's like, I just got to wait to go through. So I don't know.
I mean, customs is a better place for it to be stuck than the manufacturer not delivering them.
Are you sure there's just not like, so I've had things stuck at customs because mine are shipped through FedEx, and because FedEx needed some paperwork, and they don't release it until they get the paperwork. Maybe you have that same type of problem?
I have the Chinese people following up with that, so
sorry about that.
I gotta wait to hear back from them.
One of our cats climbed into the garbage in my office, so yeah. Should we just launch into the nonsense of Reate at this point?
Yeah, I mean,
Brian, do you want to get angry, or do you want to wait until later to get angry?
There's nothing to get angry about. I mean, they do a good job at what they do. I mean, the knives are fantastic. It's this timetable is a little crappy, though. You know, they tell you 6 months, and it goes on to 9 months.
It's getting worse.
And then it gets worse and worse. It's too bad because, and what happens is every time this happens, which seems to happen every time, by the time the knives come in, you're just thankful that the knives are in. You're thankful that 99.9% of them are good, you know, so you forget about it. But it is crappy. I'm at the point where I have dealers telling me they don't want to get involved with pre-order Reate stuff anymore.
Yeah,
I mean, that's like the most damning thing I've heard about almost any manufacturer. Like,
there's unfortunately, a lot of people are telling me bad stuff. You know, it's not that they can't turn it around, but they need to start backing off on a lot of this other bullshit for people who are nobodies and maybe their own stuff. You know, I see their own stuff posted all the time. You know,
I was going to say they're not going to
stuff?
turn it around because they are printing money with these stupid gimmick knives, which just talk about just such a disappointment. The really, this is like a Anakin Skywalker situation. They really could have saved it. They could have been heroes, and instead they're throwing it all away to make karambits and gravity knives.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And I knew when that first one came out, people would start losing their shit over it. It's because it's
Cold Steel has proven,
casuals.
Tactical gimmickry sells over like good knives all 10 out of 10 times. 7 days and on Sunday. Like they finally had to put a lock on the Evo or the Exo thing so that people don't stab themselves in the leg in their pocket with it. It's just like,
that was the obvious addition to that thing. They also made it smaller, which ruined the proportions for me, but that's beside the point.
Yeah, and now they've got a dumbass karambit. Like,
yeah, that thing.
I cannot believe that they're throwing away so much earned goodwill. So that, I mean, so they can make money. So, I guess they're, great capitalists at heart, but totally screwing it up for everyone else.
Yeah.
Well, it's gonna bite them a little bit because they're gonna lose people. I have a lot of things that I want to make and have done, and I'm doing a lot of exclusive stuff now. One knife to one dealer. It works out in a lot of ways, and so I'm gonna have a lot of runs going, and it's. I'm going to be moving on. Not that I'm going to move on from them totally. I still want to work with them. It's just there's a lot of people that don't want to work with them anymore.
Yeah.
I can't blame them. It's a long time. That's a lot of money. And I have a lot of money invested in it too. So when things, when I tell them ship everything at once, so I get everything at once, it's easy to keep track of. They break it up to shut me up. They'll send me some. Well, all that does is I can't give them to the dealers. All I have to do, and so now I have to sit on them. I have to pay duties on it, and then sit for another 3 months.
Yeah,
it just hurts me even more. That's why I was
send the stuff or don't.
Right. That's why I was dealing with that's why I was made up the last few daggers and stuff. These daggers, the last few that I got rid of, were supposed to all be for Blade Show, and I wanted to move on because I wanted to be making the Anniversary Typhoon by now. But I had to make some daggers just so I can fucking eat because I got a lot of money invested in that shit, and it's still tied up. It sucks. Yeah. It's hard. At least when you're trying to keep investing that back and making it bigger and bigger, you know,
dude,
if I kept doing 250-piece runs, it'd be not as bad, 250-piece runs. But now I look at 250-piece runs and I'm like, why bother?
What's the point? Yeah, why would you even do it? I'm in a similar position too. Like, I'm waiting on a bunch of those knives because I'm in between jobs and I'm starting a new job soon. And like, I have no income, and the one thing was going to float me through the month was whatever leftover knives were going to be in that shipment, and they've just been held up. So I'm losing it,
Oh, I know, man.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, hey, well, let's see if Best Tech can take over and not fall victim to the exact same circumstances.
Yeah, mine's not Reate, but it's nonetheless, it's stuff that's out of your control. Yeah. Why can't I see you, Dave?
I turned off my camera because cats are going absolutely bananas, and I was not in front of the computer.
Oh, I see.
The joys of trying to podcast with small animals around. Yeah. Okay. Well, I was expecting.
We have a comment in the chat. It says, on the surface, it sounds like getting a small business loan will be better for handling Reate orders, and then you just have to account for the interest into the final cost of the product. I mean, that's all well and good. You don't want to take a loan unless you absolutely have to. That's really what it comes down to. Is that a route you can go? Sure.
Yeah, I mean, who wants to deal with that and dealing with it's bad enough having to deal with Reate and all the dealers and all the people, and now I got to deal with fucking bankers too.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like,
and
you have to find a bank who's going to give you.
If you can avoid getting the banks involved in at all, then that's the way to.
You have to also find a bank to give you a business loan to make knives. Which
knives
is maybe not the most the thing they're most excited to do.
Right,
they won't even. Wells Fargo wouldn't even do any of my credit card transactions.
Yeah,
fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, so
unless you're taking like a loan against yourself, like a home equity loan or something like that.
Yikes.
Yeah, you could. I mean, you could do that.
Well, what was I going to say? I mean, I think we talked to Kirby Lambert at the show, and he does not have Reate produce the knives for him, and then he sells them. He licenses the designs and gets royalties, which
that's just not even worth the fucking money. The amount of money you get from that is not even worth it.
Well, that's is it? I mean, but is it worth it when you don't have to deal with the hassle of this? I mean, I'm sure the royalty rates are incredibly low.
Not when I'm getting $5,000 for a run. Fuck, I mean, why bother?
Yeah. I think as we've discussed before, knife company royalties are very minimal.
Mm-hmm.
The percentages are not good.
Unless Kirby Lambert has something organized with them, I don't see how it would be.
If you have a shit ton of designs, I get it. But to the guys that have 3 or 4 designs, it's kind of like, what?
Yeah.
I mean, but can Reate even produce these things in large enough numbers? If you're getting 5 or 10% on each sale, and they only have 300 of them.
You're not getting 10.
Yeah.
You're not getting 10. You're getting 5.
Yeah.
I think it makes sense to do that stuff with companies that are producing in larger quantities.
Yeah.
Like you get a
CRKT
Civivi design or something like that. That makes a lot more sense.
Yeah. Because at that point with Reate, you're basically just doing your fans a favor and giving them a cheaper version of your knife because you're not really making anything.
Right.
Oof. This is why everyone's centralizing on one OEM is not a great idea. Not that there was many alternatives, but
no, there's some alternatives. There's some people out there. So my next, I have something going that's going to be going with Best Tech.
Nice.
I'm going to give them a shot. I have another company I'm looking at for another knife. I'm not going to talk about that yet because it's not that far. And then I have an American company that I'm going to try to do something. So it's
cool.
We'll see. So
I mean, that's the way to do it. You got to spread it around and make sure, you're in a position now where you have a good catalog of stuff that you can, pull from and feed to different
but it's like I always want to do something new. It seems like I always want to offer something new, but
and you can. But the thing is, you can still do that, and still appease the people that are coming in to the hobby, because that's where it always. The thing that people feel all the time is that they've missed out on something. You know what I mean? That's the thing that keeps a lot of people buying stuff is the fear of missing out. And I think that there's some merit to that, but also at the same time, I've always said there's always another knife. You know, there's always something else that's going to be, you know.
Yeah, you think a little bit different than a lot of these guys. Like the post you made the other day. You don't care if it's thick behind the edge, behind the edge, and there's a lot of things that you don't feel like. You'll get a knife that's off center, and you don't even give a shit. You're like,
well,
who cares?
At this point,
you know what I mean.
There's certain things.
The other people are fucking nuts, you know.
Well, and I have knives that are thin behind the edge and lock up tight and are centered properly and all this stuff. That's all well and good for a lot of knives that I carry and use. But I also respect knives that are more
different designs and different stuff. Yeah,
like a piece of art. You know,
maker.
It's more...
You're into it for more than just the bare bones of it.
Exactly. And I think that's just where, you know. And coming back to the gentleman we met in New York, in New Jersey, it was hard for me to explain to him why a lot of these things were different for me at this point, and for collectors who've been in it for a very, very long time. But at the same time, I also got that feeling of, oh man, I remember when like everything was like new and exciting, you know? Yeah, right there.
I got dogs. You don't hear that?
No, I don't hear him. Oscar's downstairs crying because he's not up here. 3
dogs upstairs fighting.
That's good.
But yeah, and speaking of the diversifying who's manufacturing your knives, this is my first time meeting Israel Bacchus, who's Arcane Designs, and he has stuff being made by both Best Tech and Reate, and that was a pretty good idea because he's got like, you know, maybe 6 different designs, and yeah, like 1 or 2 are made by Reate, and they're really, really nice, and the rest are Best Tech, and they're, you know, almost just as nice. And it seems like he doesn't have as much of a problem.
Sure.
What I do have to say is just dealing with Best Tech is they respond a lot quicker.
They're very quick to respond for sure.
They like when you get this, you just get not a PDF, I don't know, maybe some kind of presentation where it shows you all the materials that they use and price, not price for each material, but like what price range, you know, that material will fall in for that type of knife. You know, if you want to go D2 or M390, it shows you levels, not that we don't know that, but kind of levels so you can build a cheaper knife or you can build a more expensive knife, you know, and they show you packaging and all that stuff, where before with Dave, it was, you know, that's one of my, you know, the first 4 years of packaging sucked because they were shit. And I kept telling them, these suck, give me something else. And it took me years to get it. Now, the new packaging is a whole lot better, but...
it's amazing. It's Reate is like, you know, probably making, let's say, conservatively over $1 million a year, U.S.
From me.
And they can't hire one customer service
more
person.
Than that, Dave.
Are you kidding me, dude? They are making bang. I mean,
way more.
That's why it's conservatively $1 million in revenue, and they can't hire one customer service person in China, where the labor costs are not very high, to just answer emails. Like, it's crazy. Basic customer service stuff.
He just got too big too quick and didn't grow that part of the business. Everybody, every time he hires somebody, it's another person putting knives together because he has so many to do, you know? So it's...
But when you see like We Knives and Reich showing off these offices buildings that are like, you know, bigger than I would have expected.
They stopped taking OEM orders. Yeah.
Well, I mean, Reich has Microtech's OEMs work now, which is pretty good for them.
So the same gentleman, Andrew, in the chat asks, so how do companies like Microtech and Hinder have somewhat reasonable prices made in the USA? They have, well, number one, let's talk about Hinder specifically. Remember we were just talking about having production knives that are branded through or licensing a design? When you have a design that is licensed to Kershaw, who builds knives probably in the millions, I would say at this point. How many, prepackaged Walmart Hinderer designs have you seen? That's a lot. Number one. number two, these are companies that have been in business for decades, where they took advantage of a lot of different things that were available to them, whether it was coming up in the 90s or in the early 2000s. And the biggest thing they have going for them at this point is volume and brand recognition. So Microtech can churn out, loads and loads of knives.
I mean, they have 2 factories at this point.
And yeah, they own their own factories. That's the
and they have
biggest...
2 of them.
Yeah, exactly. Not to mention, and if we're talking about Hinder, like, the product is not very complex. It
hasn't changed. So like,
it hasn't changed in forever. So
the costs have already been amortized.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
It's
That's why you don't see too many new designs, or it's just a blade change or something like that. Microtech's a little different. They try to do new stuff, but it's always based around the same formula.
Also, like it's not like the profit margins are not. They're not making a 3% profit on these things. Like they very much are designing in some profit. So it's not the knives cost less to make than probably we assume.
Because if you talk about the USA made thing, they're all riding on the back of things that are made in China. Whether, if you talk about Hinder specifically, like all of those Kershaws with his name on it that people that are introduced, that, people were introduced to his designs, are all built in China. It's not like Microtech, it's going the other direction. So
also these companies, it's tough to get USA manufacturing available, but I don't know if you've ever looked at any of the job openings for like the sort of lower level positions like knife assembler. They don't pay, most of them are in states with relatively low labor costs. Microtech
you're not getting skilled labor.
Microtech's in Pennsylvania and North Carolina, right. But the part of Pennsylvania they're in is like a pretty rural part. That's not.
I don't think they're not in Pennsylvania anymore.
Bradford. They don't have the factory in Bradford still.
Not that I know of.
I thought they still did, but the other one's North Carolina.
Maybe you're right. I think everything moved to North Carolina.
Hinder's in Ohio. I mean, they're probably paying less than $20 an hour to a knife assembler. So like the machines, you don't have to pay the machines. I mean, obviously upkeep on the CNCs and materials and stuff, but like it's not like
you have
paying...
1 or 2 machinists tops.
Yeah, it's not like the knife assemblers are just raking in the money. So like. I think there's room for profit there. I mean,
100%.
Hinder wouldn't be getting bigger and bigger if they weren't making money.
The fact that the Hinders cost $700, like you buy what do they cost? They're like baseline 6 or something like that.
No.
5?
No.
What are we talking about?
What's an XM18? I haven't bought an XM18. I've only owned one XM18. Let me check.
Oh, I mean, Chris Reeve is the same way, right?
Yeah. Well, Chris Reeve finally raised its prices a little bit. But those have even. there's a knife. The 425 is what the XM18 starts at.
New model Hinder is $500, says James. So there you go. Like they're literal base
and what the
base
frame
level
lock
flat ground frame.
Lock?
It's a frame lock.
No, the XM18 is definitely 425. But anyway, I mean, it's nitpicking. They're not. There's room for profit in there. These companies would be doing worse than they were doing 10 years ago if they were making less money. And Hinder is clearly expanding. Microtech is probably bigger than ever at this point.
Mm.
But yeah, they have this new Project X knife Hinder that I think they're asking $600 for or something.
Oh yeah, James he mentioned that. He says that's around $500.
Yeah,
give or take $100 at this level doesn't make a difference.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah. So those are $500. Okay, yeah, and like Sabenzas now. I mean, just got a new one today.
I reposted the one you have for sale. Dave has a Tanto black mic. Is it black micarta?
It is. It's
inlaid
a 21.
XM21.
Yeah, I mean, but like, there's a Knife Center has its exclusive large Sabenza, which with green micarta, and I want it. And then I saw it's $755, and I was like, damn, things have really changed. So yeah, that's where there's some profit built into these knives. Mm-hmm. I think that's how they do it.
Yeah. It's time and like you said, the amount of cost to build the same knife is just nothing to them right now.
Speaking of costs, this is a transition. I do want to talk about an unfortunate thing that I think you and I saw at least one or two people doing, which is people who at the show, so custom makers who like hand forge or make like sort of old school style fixed blades that are very impressive, then try and switch into folders, and they charge like the same amount for folders that are really bad as a established custom maker would, is just not a business model I understand.
When a traditional knife maker goes to make a folding knife,
a locking folder, like
this,
we should say,
it's this thick, and has like this much gap between every little section on there, and that's how you learn. But it's sort of a trope.
Yeah, but you can't ask $625 for. And there was, we won't name who it was because the guy's very nice. No. He had his first folder. It was a flipper. It had a W2 blade with like a hamon and shit, but it literally rattled as you held it because of the blade, the vertical play in the lock. Like it was like a maraca.
Yeah, it was not good.
And it's not like his fixed blades were nice, but he's charging $625 for this objectively poorly made knife.
The fact that he was charging $625 for it was a little bonkers, but that maker legitimately just like, I'm open to feedback. Please let me know what you think I can do. I think a lot of these guys aren't exposed to a lot of high quality folders either. They don't get a chance to handle them.
Yeah, they're not buying them.
You know?
No. Yeah, I just thought that was a similar thing as people who, and again, I don't want to call people, this sounds like we're calling people out, but companies that just sell fixed blades that are machined by another company. So basically all they're doing is just like slapping their design on something. And it's just like, there's so little way to stand out in the fixed blade world when they're like over $300 for a production fixed blade. And you don't make it. I feel like
you'd have a better job. I think you'd have a better time selling that stuff at a gun show.
Honestly. Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think people like
the flea market or something.
Good. This is good. I'm going to defend my house with this.
Yeah, I don't the fixed blade market is very tough to break into, and some companies do amazingly with it than others just don't sell a single knife at the show.
Some of them came out nice. Like what was those two young guys that we saw there? They came up to us at the
Well-Made knives. WEL.
Yeah.
Yes, I don't know if that was a joke or not.
I'm sure it was a play on words. Ooh, cat. They were cool. I like the knives and stuff, but yeah, it's a tough sell at a knife show like that.
Yeah, I mean it's people just folders. It's just the way to go. Especially if you're not making them yourself, you can tell someone else to make them. That helps. I don't know.
The other reason I like the New York show is because you see a lot of like the super high end like art knife stuff like that, and I really that's like, for me, that's the most fun thing, because they're not something that I would necessarily buy, but to see the work that goes into a lot of those things really amazes me. And
Manuel
I understand
Messori?
they're oh my gosh, that dude first off, how cool were they? They were so pleasant, so nice to talk to, didn't care. Like, we put our grubby hands all over the knives. They didn't care. And then I see how much work they put in these things, and they're trying to make something a little different that's going to stand out. That's going to, the one guy, he was an engineer for Lamborghini.
Yeah, that was crazy. So, Manuel Messori from Italy. I mean, I know where you're going with this. I also don't like the designs, but it's an art knife, so I don't really care. It's all about just the impressiveness of the construction.
And people had like stuff to say, and you know what? I get it. And it's just, I mean, have a little respect for an individual. Like, could you make something better? Probably not.
Yeah, I mean, it's like,
I couldn't do better.
The designs are iffy, but like, it doesn't. You're buying it for the insane craftsmanship. Like,
for the same reason someone buys a Lamborghini.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of tactical makers you can buy who just make 2 slabs of titanium, and their knives never get better, and they're the same. They're going to be the same construction way. What?
What are you trying to say?
No, Brian, you are continuously improving. There's a lot of people who don't move into they kind of just hit a plateau, and their quality or processes never change.
Sure.
And
but it's because it's always hard to justify it's
moving out of your lane.
I run into the same problem. There's things Levon and I have talked a million times, what things I'd like to try and do, but it's hard to justify the money and time it takes to do that. And it's
on a risk.
Right. Once in a while, can you do that? Well, now I'm trying to be able to get my point where I can do that kind of stuff.
Sure.
I still have to do it, but
right.
I can if I want now. But it's hard to. It's always hard to justify because it seems like once you get to this is his price range, all of a sudden you do something totally fancy and try to throw too much money on that. I mean, I don't know that they'll say. I don't know because I never do that because I'm always like, I don't know.
Yeah, okay. And that's why you see a lot of makers make the same thing over and over again because they're going to try and sell it until they can't.
Well, you also say, and I run into that same thing. I'd like to try new stuff, but I know it works too. I know what sells and what I'm known for. So you don't want to branch out too much because then you do things like the Apex, they don't sell for shit.
I love the Apex, man.
Well, I actually did well with the Apex. The Apex did well.
It did well.
There was a lot of complainers out there about it. So
yeah, but then again, you introduced what would be considered a controversial design because you put a hole in the handle. You see, you can't do that. I mean, put a hole in the handle.
Only Spyder can do it. I mean, I appreciate the perspective.
Look at a lot of the frames I've made have holes in the handle.
I know, dude. I'm being
aspirated frames. I have an aspirated mini Typhoon. I definitely appreciate that perspective. It makes sense. But I think at the same time, people should appreciate art knives then. Where people have sort of jumped into this insane realm, I responded to people on there that I knew. And, I didn't respond to everybody. But if I knew you, I said, hey, man, it's not my type of knife either. And it's not like it affects me if you say something like that. I'm just saying, be a little respectful to somebody that is doing this. Instagram
you were
comments.
never the target. You were never the target person that he was trying to sell this knife to in the first place.
Yeah, Instagram
just trying to show something different.
If you do anything different, I don't like this new. I don't like any GTC designs, but We Knives has a new integral GTC coming out that, if you like GTC, looks objectively great, way better than the ZT one.
I like it a lot.
The comment section, people are just so God. It's just brutal. I'm so glad I don't work for any of these companies.
Some cool stuff. This might be the best We Knives lineup I've seen in a long time.
Well, I don't know what they're doing. Are they really done with OEM work and now they're just back to branding their own stuff? It kind of seems like where they're going.
I don't know if they're super done with it, but I don't think they're taking on new customers.
I mean, I'm not the arbiter of all things knives these days, but who currently, we can name, has their knives made by We? The Berg blades, right? That's the only person I can think of off the top of my head. Not that I'm, an encyclopedia here. That is still getting OEM work from them. That's not co-branded, I should say. Because they're doing plenty of licensed designs.
Yeah. Do you guys hear Oscar?
A little bit, but it's fine.
That's 3 floors down.
He is unhappy.
Yeah.
But we showed off a bunch of cool knives. I am actually kind of excited for what they're coming out with this year.
Yeah, definitely some cool stuff. I'd like to do another episode where we go through and examine each one of those new releases. But we'll do that another time.
No, it's just my point was the comment section was brutal. The comment section on everything, I don't want to be the social media manager for any knife company. God damn.
It's funny because I never comment on anything, but I on Instagram the other day, I saw there was a guy who was standing on a scale and he farted. And as he was farting, his weight got lighter, like he was actually producing thrust. And then he let off. Well, without even thinking, it was in kilograms, but I should have known because it was only 100 pounds. And so I never comment on shit. My comment was, 1.5 pounds, over 1.5 pounds of thrust. Pretty good.
Yeah.
I have every asshole and their brother commenting how I'm so American because I didn't know it was kilograms, and it's 3.3 pounds, you asshole. It's and just one after another, and it's funny. It's just funny to me that everybody nobody reads their other comments.
It's good. It's all
1,500 other people.
It's all good for your account. Everybody's engaging with you.
Yeah, fuck them all.
Yeah, this is why I enjoy knives without venturing too deeply into any kind of social media about them. Just buy what I like, and then try not to talk to people about them. People are much nicer in person about knives. Go figure.
True. Everybody's very much a keyboard warrior.
Because everybody's a weird nerd when it turns out in real life when you meet them at a knife show.
I would say,
us.
Yeah, it's all weird nerds. Who else? Yeah. What else is going to go to those shows?
Speaking of weird, but also very nice, it was my first time meeting Jeremy Horton, who I have always assumed was kind of, I don't know where I got this impression that he was like not going to be friendly and he was kind of standout. I don't know. Something about the mystique around him. He was very nice. He was very friendly, and he had some cool knives. It was really cool to see his stuff in real life.
One, I didn't post it. I should post it, but it had that weird Cerakote finish that I was really
it was like the bedliner coating.
Yeah, it looked almost like it was like silvery, but it was
white. It was white with like a silvery flake in it because I think he baked it afterwards. I'm trying to remember.
You can buy that. It's like
a texture.
It's like you put. Oh, it's textured.
Yeah, it had texture.
Was it smooth? Oh,
well, kind of like a bedliner.
And it felt like a very fine, like a very high grit sandpaper.
Yeah, it was very cool. But I don't know. He was really nice, and I was just totally
medium grit.
Totally surprised.
You could see grain.
Jumping around more. I have bad news. The Reich table was popping off. A lot of the stuff wasn't for sale, but they had a prototype of one of their new knives.
I'm guessing that had to be like pre-production model. That thing was rough.
It's called the Bitey or something, and it looks cool in the pictures they showed off. But they had a prototype, and that shit they needed to windmill 360 slam that shit into the trash can because it was awful. Like the construction quality was so bad.
It was bad.
I don't know why they had that with them.
And you know what it is? What makes it difficult too is because it's one of those hardware-less designs too. So everything. So like, what do? You got to machine a whole new knife?
Yeah,
you know.
And then the guy, they had two people there. The guy they usually have Ian, and then they had another guy.
And the other guy that always is there too, the shorter guy.
Yeah, and he was trying to take the backspacer off, and it was just like not. You're supposed to be able to take the backspacer off and use it like to adjust the pivot, and it was just not coming off.
It was not coming up. I was
so scared he was going to cut himself.
Don't do that. Yeah. The Microtech stuff was great though.
Yes, that was also like they had prototypes that they couldn't sell. It was kind of silly.
That's how they always do it. Always.
Yeah, they were unbranded, but they were the Microtech ones, and they were very good. Like that, I really want an Annex.
I'm sure, which would make me think. I'm sure they'll fix that new one before they're available. But
I certainly hope so. We'll see. They're going to be at Texas, at the Blade Show, Texas. Someone check in and see if the Bitey feels like absolute garbage.
What the hell is it called?
Bitey, Baidi.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, no, that thing felt like absolute donkey shit. So that was a bit disappointing.
The traditional makers that we always visit there, who stood out to you?
I mean, Ken Steigerwald's stuff is always amazing, and it just sits there. I don't know why people.
It was all gone by the time I walked past.
Okay, all right.
But those knives are so good, and he's going to be at the Lehigh show,
which is hilarious.
I'm going to just have him build me something, and I'll pick it up there.
I mean, he had that nice stag slip joint.
That's only in a couple weeks, so I don't know.
I know.
Want to give him a heads up.
You know what he said, Brian? He's like, I'm pretty efficient at this point. So even if I have like 2 weeks, I can build you something. So.
Yeah, he had that one stag slip joint you were looking at with the polished blade and the hand fluting on like the backspacer.
Scallop. Yeah. Oh my god.
Yeah, the bolster looked like a scallop shell, and he does it all with files by hand, and it was $700. It's crazy. And
he's like a legacy maker. Like he's been doing it a long time.
He is no joke, and it's just crazy to me. And then he had the insane autos, and that was like $2,000. But like,
it wasn't unreal. It was like under 2,000.
You could give me a year, and I couldn't.
Yeah,
you could give me 10 years, and I couldn't make something like that.
Absolutely,
doing it all day, every day. Crazy. Yeah, this stuff is always amazing.
Skipping away from New York, something hell has frozen over, and CRKT reached out to me.
Oh yeah, that is interesting.
And said, "Hey, we know you probably have been critical of our stuff in the past, but would you like to take a look?"
Put it that way?
Would you like to take a look at some of our new models? You'd be some of the first people to handle them. And I said,
"Oh, that was nice of them."
I said, absolutely. And they gave me a list of models, and I picked two. I picked the Provoke EDC because I had never handled one of the Caswell things. And this one is fairly reasonably priced. It's unique, and it doesn't have like I cosplay as the Joker on the weekends type of blade shape,
Yeah, this is
a little more useful.
Yeah, this is the non-Krambit one. Well, I mean, because it's still Krambit, but it's not like a claw.
But it's even the whole profile of it is straighter and more akin to be held like this instead of like that.
Yeah,
right. It wasn't a reverse grip centric knife. The other one was one that I assume was built by Lion Steel. It was the squid with some fat carbon. I wanted to get something that I know they've had a lot of iterations of. And the squid, that Lucas Burnley design, has been something that they've been building for quite some time.
Oh, yeah.
It's pretty nice. I mean, I think it needs to break in. I thought it was on washers when I first opened it, but it's on IKBS. So I think it just needs to, like, wear in a little bit. And as far as an Italian-made knife goes, it's pretty decent.
Yeah, someone in your comment section said that it needs to break in. So
yeah,
reserve judgment until then.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, for the price, it's like $190. That's reasonable.
Yeah. I remain skeptical, so I will wait until you break it in and see if it doesn't fall apart.
Right.
And that's hasn't. No offense to CRKT.
And it hasn't felt like it's going to fall apart or anything, but that was the kind of. In your defense, Dave, that is how we would approach a lot of the old CRKT products, is they just felt very flimsy. These, I mean, even the ones I've handled in recently, like there was a Chuckadritis collab that they did that I was very, very impressed with. And that's one thing I do respect about CRKT, and I've always said so, is they find good designers, good makers, and promote their designs,
They give him two knives, and all of a sudden everything's changed. He's sucking everybody's dick. Jesus Christ, dude.
Oh yeah,
I think we've been progressively less negative about CRKT over the years.
I think that's true. They've definitely been a brand that's improved over the years, and we can't say that about a lot of the brands that we started talking about in 2017.
Yeah,
like ZT Knives was the great white hype, but.
Now they are. Ooh, boy.
I like
time come and went.
I don't know. Kershaw's got some good stuff, and I like the fixed blade that they came out with.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like ZT might. I wonder what the future of that brand is. Frankly,
I'm still holding out hope.
Maybe they're not gonna.
I'm still a ZT fan, so
yeah. Maybe I mean they have a big place in the history of my knife collecting era, but maybe they're just not gonna try and keep up with the hype and come out with lots of new designs. And they're just gonna coast.
I don't blame them. I mean, going back to like how do these American brands, produce this stuff at some point maybe they can't. They can't compete with that.
Yeah, I think they're just gonna coast on the designs they have. They still probably sell plenty of them to like, I don't know,
Cabela's.
Gun show people. That's always the answer. It's always gun guys.
Experience it.
Yep. Yeah, they did try that whole marketing thing, the whole experience it marketing.
With that, they hired that videographer.
Yeah, that was something.
It didn't fit. At least in my mind, it didn't.
I also another thing that sort of related to the show. When you show me that Hogue OTF, I don't know which one it is, but God, that thing is so good.
It's very good.
I don't know. Do you know what the name of that model is? Is it the Counter-Strike?
Counter-Strike.
Oh my God, it is so good. Like I really like that thing, and I don't particularly care for OTFs.
Version. They don't make them in large quantities, but it looks like they have some new versions of it at Texas. So if you're at the show, go to the Hogue booth and grab one of the Counter-Strikes if you can, because that's probably one of the best OTFs out there in that price range.
Oh man, I really like it.
Which is under $500. They were under $500.
Yeah, they're $400 for the carbon fiber one, like you have. Mm-hmm. Magna Cut, jeez, yeah.
And the new ones are 20 CV, I believe, but
okay, well,
which is going to disappoint like everyone for some reason.
Well, I got my first Magna Cut knife. I'll report back in a year once I've used this thing like 3 times and can tell you about how great Magna Cut is.
Yeah, it's I still enjoy knives. I'm very passionate about knives. I'm passionate about the whole industry. But it is hard to hear some things, like especially like a lot of the steel bros. But I get it. It's all part of the same thing. Everybody's trying to enjoy the same hobby.
Yeah, I mean, you got to find a way to differentiate at this point, because like so many, I mean, all the Chinese OEMs make knives. They're so good at making knives that we don't really think about blade play anymore. It's not really like that used to be an obsession of like, oh, is it going to have? It's going to have lock rock.
There's a hint of lock rock. I can still use this. I can still carry this.
Yeah, and that's not a thing anymore. So now it's like, what else can we obsess over minor details? And I mean, to some people it's not minor, but blade steel is like the next frontier of things we can obsess over, because people have kind of figured out the frame lock by now. It's not a problem anymore the way it used to be.
Yeah. What else was on our docket today? Was there other things we wanted to talk about?
Let's see. Who else was there? That'll be. I will admit that my favorite knives of the show were RJ Martin's. I really like the Q36. I just the way he like sort of sculpts the handle
right now too.
Yeah, I don't have $4,100.
They were decent for sure.
I'll still say that Brian is a better machinist.
Oh my god, it's not even a contest.
Not even a contest. I just like RJ's designs, and I'm not saying better.
I like that. I like that it was. I like that they were very.
Fuck you.
Love you, Brian.
I like that they were very lightweight, and I like
so
the
light.
one.
Yeah. But it's funny because when I first started making the Typhoons, I made a couple that were super light, and people went, "Oh, they're so light, they feel like shit."
It's just it's in now, because what's his name? Right. That guy who I have one of his knives, the
interface
Van Camp.
The guy who makes the
Jason
interface
Van
knife?
Camp. I think it's Jason Van Camp.
VC Edge.
Yeah, I think that's his name. But he blew up quick with those super lightweight carbon fiber frame knives. And another one that's coming out, I sent it to you, Brian. Williamson knives.
With the carbon fiber lock?
Yeah, that carbon fiber integral. You know who they are, Dave. Hold on.
Doing a carbon fiber integral?
Yep, let me show you. Hold on.
Okay, well, that's one way to make a knife very light. I thought the lock was going to be made from carbon fiber, and I was very sort of suspicious / curious.
The lock is made from carbon fiber.
Oh. Okay.
Hold up. Dude, wait, and I'll tell you why it works, so it's pretty cool. So they actually commissioned Fat Carbon to engineer a new carbon fiber with everything going in the right direction for a frame lock, and one with an insane amount of layers. So there's very little, there's no voids, no nothing, and they've stress tested the knife like over 100,000 times now. So it's pretty cool. Yeah.
I mean, they use carbon fiber springs in a lot of things. I mean, people's feet for like what are they called? Can't even come up with the name. Prosthetic feet and stuff, so it's carbon fiber's tough shit.
That is very cool. Yeah, send me a link to this. I have not seen this knife yet.
Williams, hold on, I can't, that's the other thing, like Instagram, social media in general is getting less and less friendly to knives. So you'll notice that even on my watch account, I just changed it to Levon's Watch Blast, just because I want to have an account that doesn't have the word knife in it. Yeah. At this point, if we've got to physically go into if you want to help the community out, go and follow knife accounts. Go and like different pictures. I always try to go into, to the search area of Instagram, and if I see a knife picture, I like it. Regardless of whether it's a brand or anything you follow. The community really has to help each other out to keep this thing going, because Instagram is not going to show your stuff to the right people anymore. It's just something that we need to get behind as a community. But hold on, I got to find this thing and send it to you.
Yeah, I would like to see this, because I had not heard about this, and this is pretty wild.
Because I would search the name and it won't even pull up that account. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah, I have noticed the search function on Instagram's pretty bad these days, but Meta also just laid off 20,000 people, so I'm not really surprised.
It's because it is a shadow banning. It is. They'll hide a knife name and if you go check your account status, you may have like a hashtag or something used like knife community. That's a banned hashtag. So if you have that, they flag your account and you're still there. If someone searches for you, it'll take a little while, but your name will pop up. But
because like when I search We Knives, I like their account name does not come up first. Like
Correct.
We Knife fan photos comes up first. I'm like, what? Yep. And I had not thought about this until like yesterday when I was.
We Knife fan photos is We Knives though.
Yeah, but their like main account does not come up. And search with same thing with Reate Knives USA came up first. I was like, I just want their main account.
Not allowed.
No, fun. Let's see.
I'm trying to. Give me a sec. I sent it to Brian, so I had to reload this thing.
All right. Well, I will.
Yeah, it wouldn't pop up in the search, so I'm going to send it to you on Instagram. Okay.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, that's pretty wild. That idea. Who else was there? The show, or what else should we talk about?
You probably with that knife. You probably have to make a pretty lean blade, otherwise it would really feel weird, you know?
Yeah, and it looks like the blade stock is pretty thin, so that would explain that.
That makes sense.
Do you see it?
Whoa. Yes. Oh, it's... Okay, this is the guy who makes... He has tons of CRKT collaborations.
Yes.
Right? This is, James and Christopher Williams, they have all the Japanese-inspired stuff. The big stabby knives.
Correct.
Is he an older dude?
I don't know.
Older dude.
Seems like there's a second person now. Yeah,
it's his son. It's a father and son thing, like the Skiffs. It's the same sort of.
Or like Herb Durr and I believe Richard Durr.
It's no. He had a different name than that, right?
It was something Durr. Herb Durr was not there, but there was someone else with that last name who I believe might have been related.
Yeah. You know, if you just use the first 3 letters of my last name is Durr.
You could join that family.
I'm Levon.
They need a new one. But yeah, okay, this is wild. This is not who I expected to be pushing innovation like this. But
they've been trying for I've talked to them pretty I check in with them every so often, and I knew they were up to some good stuff over the past year, but this really does push the limits and stuff. So what he suggested is, I said, I would love to have you on the show to talk about this. And he's like, yeah, I'll do that. And we'll get one of the guy from Fat Carbon to come on as well. So to talk about the process of the manufacturing of the carbon fiber for that project. So I think that's something that we're going to do in the future, is have those guys on.
I would be glad to. God, sorry, I got distracted reading just some dickheaded comments on this post. Just like the knife should be a little more clean and polished. This looks rushed. Like what? It's
a design that they have. That's an actual knife that was designed to be used in tactical situations and other. So there's definitely a lot of research in that design.
Just oh my god. Just people in the comments. I'm glad no one is engaging with these stupid comments like this.
Yeah, for a bunch of years it was pretty bad. It got better, at least in the knife community. It got better for a while. It's been quite a while now. You're starting to see more douchebags pop up.
We talked about it in the last. The hobby's gotten so much bigger, and everyone thinks that they know everything right out the gate. It's very, very interesting.
Yeah. I mean. It's definitely changing. Yeah, it's getting to the point where it's big enough that there's a lot more anonymity that there was before.
These people that saw, something like who am I thinking of? A very clean modern production knife by like Best Tech or something like that, and said, "Oh, that's it. That's the end of knives and everything else. That's the only knife that exists in my brain." Like Vero, that's who I'm thinking of. Like that guy got his knives out to that. He's responsible for a lot of new knife makers, knife enthusiasts, right?
Yeah.
But they see his stuff and they see that's the end all be all of knives. So that's where their brain is right now.
Yeah, I mean, his table was wild. Tons of people. Wild. Good for Joseph.
Wild. And good for Joseph. Great guy.
He is absolutely killing it. Yeah, I mean, he was basically, even by like a couple hours in, he had nothing left besides all the prototypes that he had there. So good for him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I saw him before I left. I talked to him, and his table was full.
Yeah, those are all prototypes that weren't for sale.
Oh.
Yeah, there was very little that was for sale.
Yeah. Same thing with Null. You know,
yeah,
he's coming out of the gate with some very strong designs, and that's what people see. You know, it's very interesting. You're right there.
Yeah. This is what happens when you try and podcast with cats actively in the room.
Well,
I don't know. Someone's scratching at something.
We should probably wrap up soon anyway. Dave, you and I can do like a supplemental podcast after.
Okay.
Or just get together, do another episode next week.
Yeah. You know, I mean, I feel like we've covered most of the stuff I wanted to cover. We should probably give a knife away. And then that's the thing we should do.
A brass handled QSP penguin with a black blade.
All right.
It's a pretty cool knife.
That sounds like a great one. All right. Well, we have 25 people.
Okay.
No Jake here. So I guess I will handle the randomization. If you would like to apply to replace Jake as our random number person,
don't
email us knifenutspodcast@gmail.com. Let's see. All right, 12. Let's see who lucky number 12 is. Okay. Ari Darum. Good for you, right. Ari Darum. You've won.
Congratulations. Send me a DM on at Knife Nuts Podcast on Instagram if you can, and I'll get that out to you right away. I also sent out a whole bunch of swag packs and stickers, so everybody should have their swag pack and or sticker at this point. If for some reason you did not get that and get your swag pack and or sticker, send me a DM and I will get it to you.
Yes. And if no one ever claimed this, we gave this away. This is the knife that Jake claimed the lock bar cracked, and then he drilled it out partially, and it may be or may not be safe. But it's also free. So,
no problem, Brandon. I'm glad you got it, buddy. Thanks for your patience.
Let me randomly find someone to generate another random number.
You want to give that one away now? I was going to say hold it. Yeah. It's no one claims it. No.
This is not a real. This is not a real thing that anyone should want because it's possibly dangerous, but it also has Vanadis 4 steel or something. Vanadis 10. Cool. So if you are okay with the fact that the lock probably doesn't work,
that's 6 more than Vanadis 4.
Exactly. So let's see.
6 more Vanadi.
Number 18. Let's find out who that is. Adam. Name that looks like it's Icelandic, so I have no idea how to pronounce it. Because we don't have that character in English. Adam, Icelandic last name guy. You get this knife for free. I'm sorry.
But don't DM me for that one. DM Dave.
Yes, please. Someone take this
Knife
off
Nuts
of my
Dave
hands.
at on Instagram.
Yes.
Or if you DM me, I'll send it to Dave. One of the two things will happen. Congratulations.
All right. I'm glad I can finally get rid of this thing, hopefully.
Before we go, I just want to let everybody know the olive and the carbon fiber mini Evos will all be at the dealers. I'm gonna have them drop them at Thursday at noontime.
Is that the purple carbon fiber, pink carbon fiber too?
No, it's the green and the olive and the carbon fiber versions.
Got it.
Fat carbon versions haven't all shown up yet.
Right. So I want to pick one of those up at some point.
There'll be a later date. Unfortunately, I got 0 of any, so they're all dealer knives. So
That's fine.
And they will not come any faster if you comment on Instagram or send DMs.
Yeah, same thing for me. Like, I know you guys have been waiting a long time for those knives. No one is checking it and stressing out over it more than I am. You're definitely gonna get your knife. It just takes forever. I don't know what's going on. But thank you for your patience and for sticking with me.
All right, everyone.
Yes. We'll see you again soon. Maybe we'll do this again next week. And talk about what happened. I'll try and find some cool stuff that happened in Texas. And we'll go from there.
All right.
Thank you to everybody who joined us in the live. I assume this will go up in the next couple of days or so.
Sure.
Yeah. Thank you. We'll see you soon.
See you, everybody. Thank you,
Later.
sponsors, PBK,
Bye.
whoever else.
Yes.
Thank you.
PBK.
Okay.